I still remember the exact moment I signed that mortgage agreement. My hand trembled as I scrawled my signature across the dotted line, committing myself to 30 years of payments to save my childhood home. My parents stood behind me, tears streaming down their faces, whispering thank you over and over. I'm Daisy, and that was 6 years ago. I was 26 then, watching my friends jet off to exotic destinations while I worked two jobs and lived on ramen noodles. But family comes first, right? That's what mom always said, usually right before asking me to sacrifice something else. We'll never forget this, Dad had promised that day, squeezing my shoulder. You'll always have a home here. Funny how always turned out to be exactly 6 years, 2 months, and 15 days. I knew something was wrong the moment I pulled into the driveway after work. Ruby's cherry red convertible sat in my usual spot, and there was a beat up pickup truck I didn't recognize. The front door was propped open, boxes scattered across the porch. Hello? I called out, stepping over a pile of what looked like men's clothes. Ruby's voice floated down from upstairs. Oh my god, Mom, it's perfect. Zeke is gonna love it. My stomach dropped. Ruby's latest boyfriend, fiance number 4, if anyone's counting. I'd only met him twice, but both times he'd looked at me like something stuck to the bottom of his shoe. I climbed the stairs, following the sound of giggling and furniture being moved. My bedroom door was wide open, and inside, what's going on? My voice came out smaller than I intended. Mom turned around, holding a designer throw pillow I'd definitely never seen before. The walls of my room, my sanctuary for the past 32 years, were freshly painted a slate gray. My furniture was gone. My books, my photos, everything that made it mine had vanished. Oh, Daisy! Mom's face lit up like she'd just remembered I existed. Isn't it wonderful? Ruby and Zeke are moving in. We're turning this into their master suite. I stood frozen in the doorway. Where's my stuff? Don't worry, honey. We moved everything to the garden shed. It has great light for someone like you. Someone like you. The words hit like a physical blow. The shed? I repeated. Where I keep the lawnmower. Ruby bounced into view, her perfect blonde curls swaying. It's so cozy. We cleaned out all the spiders. Well, most of them. She giggled again, then called out, Zeke, baby, come see what Mom did with the curtains. Heavy footsteps on the stairs, and there he was. Tall, handsome in that generic way that screams trouble, wearing a smirk that made my skin crawl. Nice of you to give up your room, Daisy, he drawled, sliding an arm around Ruby's waist. Real generous. I started, but Mom cut me off. Now, don't be difficult, Daisy. You're hardly ever here anyway, always at that office. Ruby and Zeke need their space to start their life together. Their space? My voice cracked. Mom, I pay the mortgage. This is my. Oh, please, Ruby rolled her eyes. We know you help out a little, but it's still Mom and Dad's house. Help out a little? I'd emptied my savings, destroyed my credit, worked myself to exhaustion for years, and now I was being relegated to a spider infested shed. Dinner's at 6, Mom chirped, already turning away. We're celebrating Ruby and Zeke's engagement, though maybe eat in your room. I mean, the shed. We invited Zeke's parents, and we want to make a good impression. They left me standing there, Ruby's laughter echoing down the hallway. I walked numbly to my old closet, now painted charcoal gray to match the walls, and pulled open the bottom drawer where I kept important documents. The mortgage agreement was right where I'd left it. My hands weren't trembling anymore as I flipped to page 6, where a certain clause was highlighted in yellow, the clause my lawyer friend Palmer had insisted I include, just in case. I'd thought she was being paranoid at the time. Now, reading those carefully worded sentences about occupancy rights and transfer of ownership, I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. They wanted to treat me like an unwanted tenant? Fine. Time to show them what a real eviction feels like. I pulled out my phone and typed a quick message. Palmer, remember that clause we discussed? I need your help. Her response came immediately. Finally. I've been waiting for this call. Palmer's office always smelled like leather and expensive coffee. She sat across from me, scanning the mortgage agreement with the same intensity she'd shown 6 years ago when she'd first drafted it. You know, she said, looking up over her reading glasses, when I insisted on this clause, I hoped you'd never need it. I shifted in my chair. clutching my coffee cup like a lifeline. I thought you were being overprotective. Honey, I've seen enough family disputes to know better. She tapped the highlighted section. This is legally binding. They signed it, probably without reading it properly. The house defaults to your full control if they violate your right to occupancy. The shed, I said quietly. They put me in the shed. Palmer's perfectly manicured nails drummed against her desk. Show me. I pulled out my phone, flipping through the photos I'd taken that morning. The cobweb festooned walls, the single bare bulb hanging from a frayed cord, the moldy cardboard boxes containing what remained of my life. Jesus, Palmer muttered. And you're still paying the mortgage? 3,000 a month, plus property taxes and insurance. While they're turning your bedroom into a love nest for your sister and her latest conquest? She shook her head. Have you looked into this Zeke character? Not yet. Been too busy trying not to have a breakdown in my new spider roommate's web. Let me make some calls. Palmer reached for her phone. In the meantime, document everything, every interaction, every comment. Take photos, save texts. We need to build a clear pattern of displacement. I nodded, then jumped as my own phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Dinner's in the oven. Don't forget to use the side door. Zeke's parents are here again, and we're using the dining room. The side door? Palmer raised an eyebrow. Yeah, you know, the one by the trash cans. My laugh came out hollow. Wouldn't want the guests to see the help. Daisy. Palmer set down her papers. Why are you hesitating? This isn't just about a room anymore. This is about respect. They're still my family. Are they? She leaned forward. Family doesn't treat you like this. Family doesn't make you sleep with spiders while they redecorate your room for someone who hasn't contributed a dime. I stood up abruptly, walking to her office window. Below, the city sprawled out, people rushing about their lives. How many of them were also swallowing their pride, accepting scraps of dignity in the name of family loyalty? What if I'm overreacting? I whispered. What if my phone buzzed again? A photo from Ruby, her and Zeke lounging on a brand new bed in my room with the caption, Home Sweet Home. Palmer appeared beside me, glancing at the screen. Still think you're overreacting? I closed my eyes, remembering this morning's humiliation. I'd tried to shower in the main house only to find Zeke had accidentally walked in on me. His smirk as he'd slowly closed the door haunted me. If we do this, I said slowly, what's the process? Palmer was already heading back to her desk. First, we file a notice of breach. Then, a knock at her office door interrupted us. Her assistant poked his head in. Ms. Palmer, I have those preliminary background checks you requested. She took the folder, scanning it quickly. Her eyebrows shot up. Well, seems Mr. Zeke has quite a history. 3 restraining orders from ex fiancés, multiple small claims court appearances, and she looked up at me. 2 pending lawsuits for financial fraud. My stomach lurched. What kind of fraud? The move in with wealthy families and slowly drain their accounts kind. She handed me the folder. Your sister's Prince Charming has made quite a career out of it. I flipped through the pages, each revelation worse than the last. They won't believe me if I show them this. Mom and Dad think he's perfect. Then we don't show them. Palmer picked up her phone again. We let them find out the hard way after we've secured your legal position. You mean after I evict them? After you protect yourself, she corrected. The paperwork will take about 2 weeks to process. Are you sure you want to do this? Another text buzzed through. Daisy, the shed's leaking. Deal with it before my boxes get wet. Ruby! I straightened my spine, feeling something hard and cold crystallize in my chest. Yes, start the process. Palmer nodded once, sharply. Good, because family or not, what they're doing is wrong, and sometimes. She smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. Sometimes Karma needs a little legal assistance. I pulled out my own phone and typed a quick message to my mother. Don't worry about the leak. I'll take care of everything. And I would, just not in the way they expected. The engagement dinner party was in full swing when I trudged home from work. Through the dining room windows, I could see crystal glasses catching the light, hear the tinkle of expensive laughter. My family sat around our antique table, the one I'd restored myself last summer, while I stood in the darkness, clutching another mortgage payment check. Maybe if you smiled more, you'd have the master bedroom. Zeke's voice startled me. He was leaning against the side of the house, smoking. Maybe if you had a job, you wouldn't need to mooch off my sister. I shot back. His easy smile didn't waver. Careful, Daisy. You're starting to sound bitter. Nobody likes a bitter woman. I started toward the shed, but his next words stopped me cold. You know what's funny? Your parents don't even realize you're the one paying for all this. He gestured at the house with his cigarette. They think your monthly contributions barely cover groceries. What did you tell them? He shrugged. Nothing they didn't want to believe already. Ruby mentioned how you like to exaggerate your importance, and, well, they filled in the blanks themselves. Through the window, I watched Mom refill everyone's glasses with the expensive wine I'd bought for her birthday. Ruby was showing off her engagement ring, Dad beaming proudly beside her. You're not invited, by the way, Zeke added. Rosalind thought it would be awkward, having the help at dinner. I bit back my response and headed to the shed. Inside, water dripped steadily from the ceiling onto my makeshift bed. I'd have to sleep in my car again. My phone buzzed with a text from Palmer. Check your email. Found something interesting about your future brother in law. I opened the attachment. Court records from 3 different states. Each showed the same pattern: Zeke moving in with wealthy families, gaining their trust, then systematically draining their accounts before disappearing. I rushed back to the house, documents pulled up on my phone. Mom! I called through the screen door. Dad, you need to see this. Mom appeared, her face flushed with wine and irritation. Daisy, we have guests. Look at this. I thrust my phone forward. Zeke's a con man. He's done this before. Done what? Ruby appeared behind Mom, her eyes narrowing. He moves in with families, gains their trust, then steals everything. I explained rapidly. There are court records, police reports. Oh, honey. Mom's voice dripped with pity. Is this really what you've resorted to? Making up lies about Zeke because you're jealous of your sister's happiness? I'm not making this up. Look at the documents. That's enough. Dad's voice boomed from behind them. You're embarrassing yourself, Daisy. And us. But no buts. Mom's face hardened. Go to your room. We'll discuss your behavior tomorrow. The door closed in my face. Through the glass, I watched them return to their party, shaking their heads. Zeke caught my eye and raised his wine glass in a mock toast. Back in the shed, I was hanging a tarp over my bed when something caught my eye, a tiny red light blinking in the corner. I moved closer, pushing aside a cobweb. A camera, small, wireless, pointed directly at where I slept. My hands shook as I took photos of it with my phone, then carefully removed it from the wall. The brand name and serial number were clearly visible. Palmer? I whispered into my phone. You're going to want to see this. What am I looking at? She asked when I sent the pictures. A camera in my room. Want to guess who installed it? That's. She paused. That's actually perfect. We can add harassment charges to the eviction filing. They're never going to forgive me for this, I said quietly. Forgive you? Palmer's voice rose. Daisy, they kicked you out of the house you pay for, let a known fraudster move in, and now there's a hidden camera in your space. Stop worrying about their forgiveness and start protecting yourself. From the house came the sound of breaking glass, followed by raucous laughter. Ruby's voice carried across the yard. Don't worry about it, Mom. Daisy can clean it up tomorrow. I looked at the camera in my hand, then at the mortgage statement on my phone. 6 years of payments, 6 years of sacrifice, 6 years of being treated like a servant in my own home. Palmer? Yes? How soon can we file those papers? First thing tomorrow morning. I set the camera down and pulled out my laptop. Time to document everything, every text, every photo, every humiliation. They wanted to treat me like nobody? Fine. Let's see how they like being nobodies themselves. Daisy? Is that really you? I looked up from my coffee at the local diner where I'd been hiding out between work and home. The voice belonged to a face I hadn't seen in 15 years, but would know anywhere. Louis? He smiled, the same crooked grin that used to make my teenage heart skip beats. Mind if I join you? I gestured to the empty seat across from me. Louis, my old next door neighbor, former best friend, and first crush, slid into the booth. Still taking your coffee black? He asked, nodding at my cup. Some things never change. Unlike your living situation. At my startled look, he added, I drove past your house yesterday. Saw you coming out of the garden shed with a towel and shampoo. Heat crept up my neck. You saw that? Want to tell me why you're living like Harry Potter while your sister's fiance parks his truck in your spot? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Another text from Ruby. Mom says you need to clean the gutters this weekend. Zeke doesn't do manual labor. Lewis raised an eyebrow as he read the message upside down. Zeke doesn't do manual labor? Does Zeke do any kind of labor? Unless you count spending my parents' money as labor, no. I showed him the background check Palmer had run. His eyes widened as he scrolled. Jesus, Daisy, have you shown this to your parents? They think I'm making it up because I'm jealous. I laughed bitterly. Apparently, I'm the bitter spinster who can't stand to see her baby sister happy. The bitter spinster who pays their mortgage. They don't know that part. According to Zeke, I just help out a little. The waitress came by with more coffee. Louis ordered a slice of pie and pushed it between us when it arrived. Remember how we used to share pie here after school? He asked, handing me a fork. Before you moved away for college and never came back? I came back. He met my eyes. You were already gone, working 3 jobs to save your parents' house. Another text buzzed through. The paperwork is filed. Court date set for preliminary hearing. Palmer. What paperwork? Lewis asked. I took a deep breath and explained everything: the mortgage clause, the eviction proceedings, the hidden camera. With each detail, his expression grew darker. Your dad still working at the factory? He asked when I finished. Lost his job 6 years ago, right before I took over the mortgage. And your mom? Still spending money like it grows on trees. Yesterday, she bought Ruby a $500 food processor. Meanwhile, I'm showering at the gym because Zeke keeps accidentally walking in on me at home. Lewis's fork clattered against his plate. He what? It's fine. I documented it all. Palmer says, it's not fine, Daisy. He reached across the table, covering my hand with his. None of this is fine. The warmth of his touch sent an unexpected shiver through me. When was the last time anyone had touched me with kindness? I saw your dad yesterday, Lewis said quietly, at the pharmacy. He looked old, tired. Guilt twisted in my stomach. Don't. I'm not judging, just observing. He squeezed my hand. You're doing the right thing, you know. Sometimes love means setting boundaries, even when it hurts. My phone buzzed again. Palmer. Eviction notice ready for your signature. Lewis read the message and let out a low whistle. That's going to be nuclear. I know. I pulled my hand back, suddenly cold. Maybe I should wait. Dad's blood pressure isn't great, and Mom's anxiety. Stop! Lewis's voice was firm. You've been managing their emotions your entire life. When do you get to manage your own? Before I could respond, the diner's door chimed. Ruby walked in with Zeke, laughing at something on her phone. They hadn't noticed us yet. Quick! Lewis stood up, offering his hand. Back door. I'll drive you home. I stared at his outstretched hand, remembering all the times he'd helped me escape difficult situations in high school. Some things really don't change. Not home, I said, taking his hand. I can't face the shed tonight. My place has a spare room, with an actual bed and everything. He grinned. No spiders included. As we slipped out the back, I heard Ruby's voice. Oh my God, Zeke, look what Mom bought us now. I thought about the eviction notice waiting for my signature, about Dad looking old at the pharmacy, about Mom's anxiety and Ruby's laughter and Zeke's smirk. You okay? Lewis asked as we reached his car. No, I admitted. But I will be. My phone buzzed one final time. Palmer again. Sign tomorrow? No pressure, but the longer we wait. I typed back a single word. Yes. The pre-wedding brunch was in full swing when I pulled into the driveway. Mom had explicitly told me to stay away. Ruby doesn't need any negativity on her special day. But that was exactly why I chose this moment. Palmer stood beside me in a crisp navy suit, holding a manila envelope. Ready? I smoothed down my own suit, charcoal gray, expensive, everything they never expected from someone like me. Now or never. We walked through the side door, my designated entrance, and the chatter in the dining room stuttered to a halt. 20 pairs of eyes turned to stare at us. Daisy. Mom's voice was sharp. I specifically told you. Hello, everyone. My voice came out stronger than I expected. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have some documents that need immediate attention. Zeke stood up, all fake concern. Hey now, this is a celebration. Business can wait. Actually, Palmer stepped forward, it can't. Mrs. Richardson, Mr. Richardson, these papers require your immediate review. Ruby's face flushed red. Who do you think you are? You can't just barge in here. I'm Palmer Hughes, attorney at law. She placed the envelope on the table. And I absolutely can. Dad reached for the papers with trembling hands. What is this? Notice of eviction, I said quietly. You have 30 days to vacate the premises. The room exploded. Mom started crying, Ruby screamed, and Zeke lunged forward only to be stopped by Palmer's raised hand. I wouldn't, she warned. Any aggressive action will be added to the record. You can't evict us, Mom shrieked. This is our house. Actually, I pulled out my phone, displaying 6 years of mortgage payments. It's mine. Check page 6 of your copy of the mortgage agreement, the one you signed without reading. Dad's face went pale as he found the clause. This this can't be legal. It's perfectly legal, Palmer confirmed. Your daughter has been the sole financial contributor to this property for 6 years. When you violated the occupancy agreement by forcing her into uninhabitable conditions, you triggered this clause. Uninhabitable? Ruby scoffed. It's just the garden shed. I played the video I'd recorded on my phone, the leaking roof, the mold, the exposed wiring, then the coup de grace footage of Zeke installing the hidden camera. Several guests gasped. Zeke's parents stood up abruptly, gathering their things. That's not what it looks like, Zeke started, but his father cut him off. Save it, we've seen this before. He turned to Ruby. Ask him about the Andersons in Seattle or the Martins in Denver. Ruby's face crumpled. Zeke? What's he talking about? But Zeke was already backing toward the door. This is ridiculous. I don't have to stay here and. Actually, Palmer interrupted, you do. The police would like to speak with you about several outstanding warrants. As if on cue, two officers appeared in the doorway. The look on Zeke's face as they led him away would have been satisfying if I hadn't been watching my mother collapse into tears. How could you do this to us? She sobbed. To your family? Family? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Was I family when you put me in the shed? When you let him install cameras to spy on me? When you used my mortgage payments to pay off Ruby's credit cards? Dad's head snapped up. What? Mom's sobs quieted suddenly. Ruby looked away. Oh, I said softly. You didn't know about that part, Dad. Maybe you should check the bank statements. See where that money really went. Roslyn? Dad's voice was barely a whisper. What did you do? The guests were leaving now, murmuring awkwardly. Ruby's future in laws paused at the door. We'll be taking back the engagement gifts, Zeke's mother announced. And Ruby, don't try to contact us. In the silence that followed, I placed another envelope on the table. What's that? Ruby asked, her voice small. A chance, I replied. Sign over any claim to the property, agree to pay back what you stole, and I'll let you stay, as tenants, with a proper lease and proper boundaries. And if we don't? Mom challenged, some of her fire returning. Then you have 30 days to find new housing. Your choice. I turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and Ruby, the shed's all yours now. Watch out for spiders. As Palmer and I walked out, I heard Dad's broken voice. Roslyn, how much of Daisy's money did you take? And Mom's response, only what Ruby needed. And finally, Ruby's wail. This is all your fault. You promised nobody would find out. I got into my car, hands shaking on the wheel. You okay? Palmer asked. I looked back at the house, my house, where my family was imploding. No, I said honestly, but I will be. The truth hurts, but lies destroy. And I was done being destroyed. The next 48 hours were chaos. Mom cycled between hysterical crying and vicious accusations. Dad hadn't said a word since discovering Mom's financial deception. Ruby had locked herself in my old room, her room, and was blasting breakup songs on repeat. I was in Palmer's office when the first offer came through. They want to negotiate, Palmer said, reading the email. Your mother's offering to repay half of Ruby's credit card debt. Half? I laughed. They stole over $40,000. $47,822, Palmer corrected, plus interest. My phone buzzed. Dad, can we talk? Alone? I met him at our old spot. The park bench where he used to take me after Little League games. He looked smaller somehow, hunched against the autumn chill. I didn't know, he said before I could speak. About the credit cards. About any of it. Would it have mattered if you did? He flinched. I deserve that. You deserve worse. The words came out sharp, years of hurt behind them. You stood there while they pushed me into a shed, while Mom treated me like a servant, while Zeke. I know. He put his head in his hands. I know. Do you? Because yesterday you called me a soulless banker for standing up for myself. I was angry, scared. He looked up, eyes red. When did you become stronger than me, Daisy? When you stopped being strong enough for both of us. A jogger passed, giving us curious looks. The local news had picked up the story. Daughter evicts parents in property dispute, and our faces were becoming recognizable. Your mother? Dad hesitated. She's not well, Daisy. This situation, it's making her. Don't. I stood up. Don't you dare make her mental health my responsibility. Not again. She's your mother. And I'm your daughter. My voice cracked. Where was all this concern when I was sleeping in my car because Zeke kept accidentally walking in on me in the shower? He had no answer for that. My phone buzzed again. Ruby, can we talk? No, I typed back. Have your lawyer contact Palmer. Three dots appeared. Then, I'm your sister. You can't just cut me off. I showed Dad the message. Funny how I'm family again now that they need something. She's scared, Dad said quietly. We all are. You should be. Walking back to my car, I found Zeke leaning against it. He'd made bail, apparently. We can make a deal, he said, pushing off the hood. Back away from my car. Look, I know things about your family, things that would make great headlines. His smile was all teeth. But I'm willing to keep quiet. For a price. I pulled out my phone, hitting record. Are you attempting to blackmail me? His smile faltered. I'm offering a mutually beneficial arrangement. Like the arrangements you made in Seattle? Denver? Or should we discuss the restraining orders? You think you're so smart? He stepped closer. But you're just a bitter, lonely woman who owns the house you're trying to steal. I finished. Who has you on video installing illegal surveillance equipment? Who has evidence of your previous frauds? He lunged forward, but I was ready. The pepper spray caught him full in the face. As he stumbled back, cursing, police sirens wailed in the distance. Right on schedule, Palmer had insisted on having officers nearby, just in case. Assault and attempted blackmail, I said as the officers approached. All on video. Want to try for a trifecta? Later that night, Lewis brought takeout to Palmer's office where I was reviewing restraining order paperwork. Your mom's been calling me, he said, setting down the food. Trying to get me to talk sense into you. What did you tell her? That she should have thought about consequences before treating her daughter like property. Palmer looked up from her computer. Speaking of consequences, the court date's been moved up. 3 days from now. Good. I picked at my noodles. The sooner this ends. It doesn't end, Lewis interrupted gently. They're your family. This will echo for years. Then let it echo. I straightened my spine. They made their choices. Now they can live with them. My phone lit up with a news alert. Local woman exposes serial fraudster, family financial abuse. Palmer smiled grimly. Looks like the story's getting traction. Ready to be infamous? I already am. I showed them Ruby's latest text. You were never really family to us. Just the help with paperwork. She's wrong, Lewis said firmly. I know. I saved the message as evidence. I wasn't the help. I was the mark. But now? I looked at the growing pile of legal documents. Now I'm the owner. And soon, they'd all understand exactly what that meant. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters when I arrived. My story had gone viral. The dutiful daughter turned avenging angel, the fraudster fiance, the financial abuse. Everyone wanted their soundbite. Miss Richardson! They thrust microphones at me. How does it feel to evict your own parents? Palmer guided me through the crowd. No comments until after the hearing. Inside, my family sat on the opposite side of the courtroom. Mom looked like she'd aged 10 years. Dad stared at his hands, and Ruby was crying quietly into a designer handkerchief. All rise! The judge, a stern faced woman in her 60s, reviewed our paperwork with sharp eyes. Quite a situation we have here, she said finally. Ms. Richardson, you're seeking to enforce the occupancy clause of your mortgage agreement? Yes, Your Honor. And you have evidence of financial misappropriation. Palmer presented the bank records. The judge's eyebrows rose as she reviewed them. Mrs. Richardson, she addressed my mother, you diverted mortgage payments to cover personal expenses. Mom stood, trembling. I was helping my younger daughter through difficult times. By stealing from your older daughter? The judge's voice could have frozen fire. Who was making those mortgage payments? We didn't know, Dad interrupted. About the payments. We thought. You thought what? The judge cut in. That houses pay for themselves? That your daughter was helping out a little to the tune of $3,000 monthly? Ruby stood up suddenly. This isn't fair. She's trying to make us homeless. Sit down, the judge ordered, unless you'd like to explain the $47,000 in credit card debt your mother paid using your sister's money. The courtroom fell silent. Your Honor, I said quietly, I'm willing to offer terms. Mom's head snapped up. They can stay, I continued, if they sign a formal lease agreement, repay the stolen funds, and acknowledge my full ownership of the property. And if they refuse, then the eviction stands. The judge nodded. A reasonable offer. Mrs. Richardson, Mr. Richardson, what's your response? Mom stood again, her voice shaking with rage. She's trying to humiliate us, to control us. After everything we've done for her. Done for her? The judge's voice rose. Let's review what you've done. You accepted her financial support while treating her like a servant. You forced her into uninhabitable conditions. You allowed a known fraudster to install surveillance equipment in her living space, and you stole her money to support your younger daughter's spending habits. She turned to me. Ms. Richardson, I've reviewed the mortgage agreement. The occupancy clause is clear and legally binding. Do you wish to proceed with eviction? I looked at my family. Mom's face twisted with hatred. Dad's shoulders slumped in defeat. Ruby's tears had stopped, replaced by a calculating look I knew too well. Yes, Your Honor. Very well. Eviction is granted, effective immediately. The defendants have 24 hours to vacate the premises. Additionally, I'm ordering full financial restitution of all misappropriated funds with interest. The gavel fell with devastating finality. Outside, the reporters were waiting. Palmer had prepared me for this moment. Ms. Richardson, do you have a statement? I faced the cameras, spine straight. This isn't about revenge, it's about accountability. No one should be forced to choose between family loyalty and self respect. No one should have their kindness weaponized against them. What about your sister's claims that you're being cruel? Cruelty is stealing from someone while calling them family. Cruelty is forcing someone to sleep in a shed while their abuser lives in their room. Standing up for yourself isn't cruel, it's necessary. Later that night, I sat alone in my car outside the house. My house. Through the windows, I could see them packing, their shadows moving frantically behind the curtains. Lewis found me there, tears streaming down my face. Hey, he said softly, opening my car door. You did the right thing. Then why does it feel so awful? Because you're a good person who had to make a hard choice. He helped me out of the car. Come on, you shouldn't be alone tonight. A sharp knock on my window made us both jump. Zeke stood there, his face contorted with rage. You think this is over? He snarled through the glass. You think you've won? Lewis stepped between us. Back off, man. It's done. Nothing's done. Zeke's smile was terrible. I found something interesting in that shed, Daisy. Something you wouldn't want anyone to see. My blood ran cold, but before I could respond, police lights flooded the street. Perfect timing, Lewis said, nodding toward the approaching officers. Ready to add witness intimidation to your charges? Zeke's face fell as he recognized the officers, the same ones who'd arrested him before. This isn't over, he called as they led him away. Actually, I whispered, watching the patrol car disappear, I think it is. But something in his words nagged at me. What had he found in the shed? The shed looked smaller in daylight. Lewis stood beside me as I unlocked the padlock, both of us wearing dust masks and gloves. Whatever Zeke claims he found, Lewis said, it can't be worse than what they did to you. I pushed open the door. Morning light filtered through the cobwebs, illuminating the space where I'd spent those humiliating weeks. My old furniture was still there, covered in tarps. Help me look, I said. Whatever it is, we need to find it before he tries to use it. We searched methodically, under floorboards, behind walls, in every dark corner. Finally, Lewis called out from behind my old dresser, Daisy, there's something here. My heart stopped when I saw what he was holding, a small wooden box, my childhood memory box, the one that went missing years ago. No, I whispered. He didn't. Inside were my teenage diaries, photos, and most damning of all, letters. Dozens of them, documenting every financial transaction, every broken promise, every manipulation. I'd started writing them at 16, recording everything in case someone finally believed me. These aren't blackmail material, Lewis said, reading one. These are evidence. Evidence of what? Financial abuse, emotional manipulation. Look at the dates. You were a minor when they started using your college fund to pay their debts. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Meet me at the diner, alone, or these letters go public. Zeke. I showed Lewis the message. It's a trap, he said immediately. Of course it is. I stood up, brushing off my jeans. That's why you're calling Palmer while I meet him. Daisy, no. Yes. I picked up the box. Time to end this. The diner was nearly empty when I arrived. Zeke sat in my usual booth, looking smug. Where are the originals? I asked, sliding in across from him. Safe. He smiled. Unlike your reputation will be when people read about how you've been plotting this for years, planning to destroy your family since you were 16. You mean documenting their abuse? His smile faltered slightly. Who's going to believe that? Poor little rich girl, so bitter she kept revenge journals. The same people who believed me about you? I pulled out my phone, showing him the trending news stories. The same judge who granted the eviction? I want money, he said flatly. Lots of it. Or these go public. Go ahead. I opened the box, spreading the letters across the table. Publish them, every single one. He blinked. What? You thought these were my shame? I laughed. These are my shield. Every financial transaction, every manipulation, every lie, all documented by a teenage girl trying to protect herself. Nobody will. Nobody will what? Believe that parents would financially abuse their child? That they'd steal her college fund, force her to take out loans, make her sleep in a shed? I leaned forward. The media will love it, especially after your arrest yesterday. His face darkened. You're bluffing. Try me. I stood up. Oh, and Zeke? The police are outside. Palmer's waiting to file harassment charges. Your choice. He looked toward the window where two police cruisers sat, then at the letters, then at me. You really are a cold bitch, he said finally. No, I replied. I'm just done being warm for people who leave me in the cold. After the police led him away, Lewis found me in the empty house, sorting through rooms of memories. Ruby left this, he said, handing me an envelope. Inside was a check for $47,000 and a note. I'm sorry, I never meant for it to go this far. Too little? Too late? Lewis asked. Way too late. I tore up the check. She can pay it back through the court, like the judge ordered. What now? I looked around at the empty rooms, imagining them filled with new memories. No more walking on eggshells, no more silent sacrifices. Now I live, I said simply. In my house, on my terms. Want help painting? He grinned. I seem to remember you hate doing it alone. I seem to remember you being terrible at it. I've improved. A text buzzed through. Palmer. Zeke took the deal. No contact order in place. It's over. No, I said, looking at Lewis. It's beginning. I walked to my room again, and opened the windows wide, letting fresh air sweep away the last traces of their presence. They thought they buried me in that shed, tried to break me with their betrayals and manipulations. But I wasn't made of glass. I was made of steel, tempered by years of their fire. And now? Now I was finally free to shine. Hey, Lewis, I called out. Let's start with this room. I'm thinking blue. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's reconstruction, building something beautiful from the ashes of what they tried to destroy. They thought they buried me, but I was soil, not stone, and from soil, new things grow.